And so I want to introduce to you this concept of how we build trust as an individual and as a business. And we call it the trust equation. And it is really this simple. Trust equals, number one, credibility. Right? And credibility is what we spoke about earlier, is you came here because the people organizing this conference are credible. The speakers appear credible. Is your brand credible? Does it do what it says it's going to do? Does your product do what it says it's going to do? Even a product that's not to everybody's liking, Harley Davidson, attracts a market because it does what it says it does. When you buy a Harley Davidson, and by the way, what saved Harley Davidson from bankruptcy in the mid-1980s wasn't the bikes. It was the lifestyle. And so having owned a Harley Davidson, you buy the bike, then you spend just as much money customizing it, different handlebars, different exhausts, and then you spend half that amount of money again on dressing and looking the part with accessories. All right? So, do you have credibility? The next thing is reliability. In other words, if you say you're going to do something, do you do it? So your shipment will arrive on Wednesday, and by Thursday it's not there, by Friday it's not there. What do you say? That company is not very reliable. And then the third thing is what we call intimacy. And by intimacy, we mean how relatable is your company, your brand, your product to the outside world. If someone has a problem with your product, how easy is it to reach out to a real person inside your business? About 3 years ago, my Facebook account was hacked. And I couldn't get into it. And 6 months later, I could only manage to get into it. And whoever had hacked it had run up an ads account of $429. Do you think I can speak to anybody at Facebook just to query the $429 that I've been billed? No. There's no way to speak to anybody. Not to email them, not to phone them, not to get any response. So 2.5 years later, I still owe them $429. And I'm thinking, well, there's no ways I'm paying it because I didn't run up that bill. Facebook, social media, big companies, Amazon, all these guys, very low scoring on intimacy. You can't speak to a real person there. Now, when you add those three up, and you can actually score them for your business. What the number is irrelevant, it doesn't matter. But all of that is then divided by what we call self-orientation. And what do we mean when we talk about self-orientation as a business? We talk about the fact that, is our business all about us, or is it all about the customer? And the higher our self-orientation, the lower the trust score is that the world has in us, or that observers have in us. Right? Let's stick with tennis, actually. Roger Federer, do you think he scores high on credibility? Yeah. Out of 100, let's call it 90%, 90 out of 100 for credibility. Does he score high on reliability? Right? So here's an interesting thing about Roger Federer. In his entire career, he won almost 85% of the professional matches he played. That's pretty good, yeah? How many points do you think he won in all the professional percentage points? How many percentage points do you think he won in all the professional matches he's played? 54. 54% of points played. But it made him the most revered tennis player on the planet for 15 years. And he barely won more than half the points, right? But he scores high on credibility. He scores high on reliability. He won 85% of matches. Does he score high on intimacy? In other words, was it easy for the world to feel that they could get a window on Roger Federer's life? That he would appear at events, at marketing events, etc.? Yeah, relatively. How often did you hear him talk about his own interest and that he plays to win or to make more money or purely for commercial reasons? Hardly ever. And you know that despite that, one of his last sponsorship deals was with a Chinese clothing manufacturer called Uniqlo. They did a 10-year deal with him 3 years before he retired. So it expires in another 5 years. And they are paying him $300 million a year to be a Uniqlo brand ambassador, to wear that little red square on his clothing. Right? 300 million times 10 years, and he's not even playing tennis anymore. Because he actually comes across as having very low self-orientation. So what's the trust score that we put in Roger Federer? Very high. Take his big competitor, Novak Djokovic. Right? Let's look at Djokovic. Is he credible as a tennis player? Yep. Is he reliable as a tennis player? Yep. More weeks at number one than anybody else. More Grand Slam titles than anybody else. Do you think he gives us a good sense of being able to get close to him through intimacy? Yeah. Right? You can see his emotion. When he's upset, you can see it. When he's winning, you can see it. When he's losing, you can see it. You feel like you can get close to him. So where does his trust score really collapse? Here. Because for Novak Djokovic, it's all about Novak Djokovic. And the last kind of straw, really, was the incident with the Australian Open straight after COVID in 2021. He wasn't vaccinated. He appeared to be hiding the truth and sending out, or it appeared that he was dishonest with authorities. And so what do we say? Where's his self-orientation? Very high. And because self-orientation is the denominator, when that's high, what happens to our trust score? It drops exponentially.